Oh, well, hello there, friends and family. So good to see you again. It's been a while. Yeah. Well, that's because, in life, things happen. In that. And if you've been keeping up with our weather, and that, there's been a lot of things happening. And we're going to talk about that a little bit today, because we're going to see some more as soon as darkness sets. Yep. Just seems to be timing. Yeah. Severe weather's bad no matter what time it comes through. But it seems here in the deep south, it tends to like to sneak upon you in the middle of the night. But as we're talking about that, I'm going to show you a few things, one of which I'm proud of, and one which might be informative, because it is spring. Well, it's starting to feel like summer here. I think we're nearly approaching 80, and it's March the 31st, and that's quite unusual, even for us. But if you've been keeping track of our weather, you'll know there's been an extreme amount of tornadoes here in the deep south this year in 2023. Not like we don't have a lot of them anyway, but this year, even in my memory, seems to be rather extreme. And I was just looking at that a day or two ago, after again violent storm front came through. One of many that seemed to be back and back. And if you're looking around behind me, and you'll see the winds are increasing. And never fear, I think we'll be okay. But Alabama has already had 64. Think about that, 64 confirmed tornadoes this year. Georgia said 37 confirmed. Mississippi, that got devastated here just a few days back, has 28. And Texas is tied for number 4 for 28 as well. I think Louisiana had 22, and Oklahoma had 20. And the list goes on and on. So yeah, it's been an extreme start to 2023. But enough said about the weather. But I did want to bring it up because many people are wanting to escape the cities and urban areas, get out of suburbia. Well, understand, like I've always said most of my life, living in the South ain't for the faint of heart. We got our tornadoes, we got our hurricanes. Up in the northern tier states, as we've seen this year, especially up in states like, Washington, Oregon, California. I can't imagine what 70 feet of snow looks like, but they do in California. And there's going to be some tremendous flooding. I really feel for sure once it all starts to melt, though they've already had some today. So pretty much in most areas of the country and the globe, there's extreme weather circumstances. I guess you pick the ones you want and the ones you don't. But what I wanted to show you today, since I'm out here and that sun's blistering and that approaching nearly 80, I got my garden pile with me, spooky as always. I wanted to show you something I'm really proud of, how a few things are coming along, and we ain't got much to show you. And we'll talk about them some too. Okay? Spooky. You're right with me, ain't you, bud? Always, huh? Yep, eat you some grass. It's good for you. So as you can see, I got my pile with me, Spooky. And he's right under my feet. Hopefully he don't trip the old guy up. But because of the storms and constant rain, I have yet to plant my tomatoes. Or my peppers for that fact. But look at all those bees. Can you see all the bumbles? And if you didn't know, what I refer to lovingly as bumbles, many people hate them because they call them carpenter bees. They will bore holes in wood, especially unpainted wood, though they prefer wood that's starting to decay, such is the case in this now 23-year-old timber fence. They just love it. You see, they're building their homes. But what Spooky and I came down to check was the tire guards. Look at it. You cannot see anything anymore of dirt. The kale is just blowing it out. I cannot eat this fast enough. No. And if you figure this is about a 3-foot diameter circle of growing space, I mean, it's way more than one little old man can eat. Even the ones we stuck in here at filler are taking off too, like this one. But I thought, because some of you have asked, what can you do with kale? Well, it's great in a fresh salad. With a vinaigrette, throw you in some crispy bacon. Oh yeah. Some chopped onion, a little cheese. You got some pie to eat. Hey, dice up some ham and toss it in. But something I like to do, and maybe if y'all want and you stop by, I'll show you how to do it with a hot bacon dressing. Now that takes it over the top. But I'm proud of my kale. There's a lot of food there. And as much as I eat, it just keeps on giving. You should look up the benefits of kale. Primarily, it'll give you about 87%, 1 cup of it raw, of your vitamin K. Something that we're sorely lacking in our diets. And we need. But the cabbage is still going on strong. And the romaine is starting to look really nice. Really nice. So I'll be cutting it too. I'll be having me a nice red romaine salad. I won't be slathering ranch on it. I'll make up an herbal vinaigrette to highlight the romaine, not hide it by the salad dressing. And the one kale we stuck over here, it's coming along nicely too. Even our one surviving cabbage, it made it through the Arctic blast. It's looking rather fine. It's now got about a softball sized head of cabbage forming inside. Yep, but hot weather's coming. And out in this sun, it's toasty now. So I know it won't be long. And the season for growing cold crops, such as cabbage, you know, and things of such like broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, and what have you, is at its end. I'm curious to see how long the kale will go before it too will send up a flower stalk. Yeah, because when it does, that's the end of the kale. We'll probably let one of them go to seed and save the seed. Or maybe not. Kale, It's not expensive to buy the seed or the starts. I mean, all that kale right there started for $3.97. And I can tell you for an actual fact, I've enjoyed more than $4 worth of kale during the winter and this spring. Couldn't ask for nothing better. But I was hoping this weekend to get the tomatoes planted and the peppers planted. But I'm not going to rush it. I'm not going to move them out here and watch a tremendous storm tear them to pieces. In fact, the last storm we had 2 days where we actually had dime to quarter size hail. I want you to imagine that. Oh yeah, and we don't very often see that here where I'm at. It has been on occasion. But before we head her on back in, I do want to show you one thing that I think you'll find interesting. Something you may have never seen, or something you don't know. And over here in the south side garden bed where we're trying to let the daffodils and narcissus wind down so we can either amend the bed and ready it for fall, or maybe plant some things and try to get them through the summer to come. But yeah, the collards are growing and we've been picking leaves, but this is where it's at. And if you've never seen this before, this too is a collard plant. You're going to see right here, it's missing all its leaves. It wasn't diseased or a mutant. That's for me picking them off and adding them to like my eggs and a fresh salad. And they're quite tasty. But like I've told you in a previous video, I knew its production was ending. And this is exactly why. What you're seeing now is the flowers of the collard plant. They're delicate. They're actually quite beautiful. And those will dry and they will become the seeds of the collard. And I'm going to let them continue and dry. And I'm going to see if I can save seeds, which isn't hard. Just let them dry and collect and save them for this fall. If nothing more, it'll be fun. But I thought you might find that interesting. Maybe you didn't know what a collard flower looked like. But yeah, it's at the end of its life cycle. It grows, it produces an abundance of leaves as long as the temperatures stay, preferably in the 60s and 50s. Once it gets into the 70s, and like we've had, and I'm sure we'll reach 80 today or more, yeah, that tells it needs to set its seed so it can renew again in the coming spring. In fact, I'll tell you a secret. Up until this year, I had never here seen the collards flower. Because as soon as they'd start to form that head, I'd go ahead and chop it off, pull the plant, and prepare to move on to the next crop in the bed. And I'm glad I did. But the bees, oh, they're loving it. The bumbles, they really do enjoy it. Speedy, Spooky, you hanging out in the shade? Now you know it's getting warm. When the panthers gotta find shade. So yeah, spring has come to an end. I'm certain of that. Plus, I've looked out at the 10-day forecast. Well, we're going to be up in the 70s, 80s, 10 days out, every day. But the rest of the collards are starting to form the telltale signs of flowering. Right there is the beginning of a flower head. And the leaves will get smaller, and once that stalk shoots up, they'll be narrow, just like these are. So collards are done with. But I took a drive yesterday just to clear my mind, and oh yeah, there's stores out there still selling cold crops. Broccoli, cabbages. Yep. Don't buy them. If you're in the South, the time for that is always fleeting. And now it's at the end. Don't waste your money. But if you're further north, you probably got more than enough time. I know a lot of you have snow on the ground. Yep. Most people don't realize the diversity and the vastness that makes our country, America. But you can already see it's a breezy day. The blueberries, they're looking fine. They're loaded up like normal. I was worried that the Arctic blast had damaged them, but it doesn't look like to be the case. Look at that. Once again this year, they're loaded up everywhere. I'll have more than I can consume. But as you know, I always share with the birds too. But that's about enough for this video. We'll do some more. So y'all, there we have it. I just wanted to show off my kale. And I'm sort of kind of proud of that romaine lettuce too. Of course it too is coming to an end. I'll probably get one cutting and one or two good salads, and that'll be it for it. I'll let the cabbage go. Maybe it'll get where I can have a little bit bigger of a head. But if I see any signs of cracking or anything that indicates it's about to bolt, I'll cut it off and enjoy what I got. So hey, until I, Spooky, Speedy, Cleo, old Mr. Gray, which I'm sure is lounging in the shade somewhere too, along with sometimes old Heathcliff, and of course little Gracie too. See y'all in that next video. Y'all take care, stay safe, especially in the coming storms, and make sure you bless others as they have blessed you in your lives. Goodbye for now. Ooh, we gotta take it on in and get us some lunch. Kitty's had lunch, and see what's for supper. Huh, I'm thinking chicken of some type. What are y'all thinking? Later all.